Carbon footprint. We hear that phrase thrown around all the time, right? But what does it actually mean? Turns out it's way more than just, driving less or recycling. It's like this invisible number that's attached to literally everything we do. And in the next couple of minutes, we're going to make that number visible. So let's dive in. Okay, here's a pretty cool way to think about it. Imagine that everywhere you go, you cast a shadow. Simple enough. But what if that shadow wasn't made from blocking light? What if it was made of CO₂? Every single thing you do, hopping in the car, flipping on a light, grabbing a coffee, it just makes that shadow a little bit bigger. That invisible shadow, well, that is your carbon footprint. So, the secret to really understanding this shadow is realizing that not all emissions are created equal. Not at all. We can actually sort them all into 3 really simple categories. They call them scopes. And trust me, once you get these 3 scopes, the whole idea just clicks. This is the framework that kind of organizes all the chaos. It's the standard way of looking at it. You've got scope 1, which is all the emissions you make yourself directly. Then there's scope 2, which are the emissions made for you, like to power your home. And then there's scope 3, which is, well, basically everything else. Let's break each one down. All right, let's kick things off with scope 1. This is the easy one. You can think of this as your direct footprint. It's all the emissions that you are personally directly responsible for, from stuff you actually own or control. So what does that mean? Well, it's the exhaust coming out of your car's tailpipe. It's the natural gas your furnace is burning to keep you warm. A good rule of thumb is if you can literally point to the thing that's burning fossil fuels and say, yep, that's mine, then it's probably a scope 1 emission. It's the most obvious part of your carbon shadow. And the numbers here, they can be pretty staggering. Get this. A typical car driving around 20,000 kilometers in a year pumps out almost 3,700 kilograms of CO₂. That's literally the weight of 2 average cars. And that's just from your daily commute. Okay, so that's scope 1, the direct stuff. Let's move on to scope 2. Now this one is kind of one step removed. These are the emissions that are created for you to generate the energy you buy and use every single day. Think about it. When you flip a light switch, you're not actually burning any fuel inside your house, right? But somewhere, a power plant is. Those emissions from that power plant, they get added to your scope 2 footprint. It covers all the electricity, heating, and cooling that you buy from a utility company. And what's wild is that even tiny changes here can have a really big impact. For example, just swapping out one single old-school 100-watt incandescent bulb for a new LED, that one action can save over 270 pounds of CO₂ emissions in just 1 year. That's a huge saving from one light bulb. Okay, now for the really big one, the biggest piece of the entire puzzle, and honestly, the one that's the hardest to see. We're talking about scope 3. And this is where things get really interesting. Now, this stat here is talking about businesses, but the principle is exactly the same for us as people. For most of us, the vast majority of our total carbon footprint is hiding in this 3rd category. So here's the bottom line. If you ignore scope 3, you are missing most of the picture, period. So what is scope 3? It's the hidden carbon cost baked into everything you buy and use. It's the emissions from growing the food you eat and shipping it to your store. It's the carbon footprint from manufacturing your phone. It's the impact of all that online shopping, the boxes arriving at your door, even the clothes you're wearing right now. Transportation is a perfect example of this in action. I mean, look at this hierarchy. It shows so clearly that not all travel is the same. Way up at the top, you've got walking and cycling, basically 0 carbon cost. And way down at the very bottom, yep, air travel. And the numbers? They're just mind-boggling. Look at this. A short flight pumps out 255 grams of CO₂ for every single kilometer. Now, compare that to a national train journey, just 41 grams. That is a massive difference. It's a textbook example of how a single scope 3 choice can have a huge impact. So now that we have this framework, scope 1, scope 2, and scope 3, we can finally stop guessing. We can actually start to see where the real high-impact changes can be made. And you know what's really inspiring? It's that huge, large-scale change is totally possible. Just look at this. It's an incredible transformation in Amsterdam. On the left, you've got a street just choked with cars back in 1971. And on the right, that is the exact same street in 2020, completely redesigned for people and bikes. This is what can happen when we focus on bigger, systemic solutions. So what's the big takeaway here? It's all about focusing on the big wins.
Now that you understand the three scopes, you can see what really moves the needle. It's about tackling your direct emissions in Scope 1, choosing cleaner energy for Scope 2, and of course, making smarter choices about what you buy and how you travel for Scope 3.
At the end of the day, you can't manage what you can't measure, right? And the goal here wasn't to make anyone feel guilty, it was to empower you. Because now you have the framework, scopes 1, 2, and 3, to finally see that invisible shadow more clearly than ever before. And what you do with that knowledge, well, that's the next step. Hey, if you enjoyed this breakdown and want more complex energy topics made super simple, make sure you hit that subscribe button for Energy Simply Explained. Thanks so much for watching.